We often talk about Russians who sit in swamps, eat off shovels, relieve themselves in a hole, worship Putin, dream of destroying Ukraine, and turning Washington into nuclear ash. Brainwashed zombies who love their pen because they've never seen anything else in the world. Or rather, they've seen the world only as it's been shown to them on Goebbels' TV.
But there's no time for that. Great Britain. Today it was officially announced that some restaurants will be serving squirrels for consumption. Since there are so many animals in the parks, why not eat them? Even with food shortages in mind, they're still not backing down from their decision to help Zelensky by supplying weapons. So they'll be eating squirrels, but they'll still send howitzers, just so we don't get our hopes up for any protests.
But there's a second category of Russians, even more disgusting. Those who live in the West enjoy all the benefits of Western civilization, but are rabid fans of the dwarf Führer and support Russia's aggressive policies.
If you don't mind me asking, who did you vote for?
For Putin. Because he's the best after Zhirinovsky. Zhirinovsky died, so he's the best.
You do know that right now. Because of Putin, a lot of people are dying in Ukraine.
War is war. Putin didn't start it. It was Zelensky who started it.
They're not just nasty, they're also sneaky, because with all that mush they've got instead of a soul, they hate the West, even though they live there.
When did all this anti-Russian propaganda start? I'll be honest, if it weren't for the Russian mentality's patience and if we had the money, we should have started shooting back in '91. They closed the schools. I support Putin because he finally, once and for all, stood up against the suppression of Russia.
Unfortunately, there are plenty of such moral degenerates in civilized countries. A huge number of them ran away from the starving Soviet Union at the first chance they got, just to escape poverty and hopelessness. As soon as the borders opened, they poured into the West like water from a fire hose.
Today, home is wherever your butt is warm.
They didn't like gnawing on frozen bush legs in the great and mighty superpower, or spending half their salary on a Bounty bar.
The Soviet government took a desperate step to avoid hunger riots in the country. An agreement was made between Mikhail Gorbachev and George H.W. Bush to supply the USSR with frozen chicken legs from the United States. The USSR allocated huge sums of money to purchase American chicken legs, including funds from the country's gold reserves.
But as soon as they arrived in normal countries, where they were welcomed with open arms, as soon as they got enough to eat and cleaned themselves up, they immediately started loving their homeland again. This time even more fiercely than before they left. The Soviet Union, which they had escaped from, suddenly became a paradise and a dream.
When we moved to Germany, I was almost exactly 8 years old. For our family personally, it truly wasn't difficult at all to integrate smoothly into German society. I absolutely do not agree with the widely held idea that Germany genuinely promises democracy and freedom of speech. It's just not true at all, in my honest opinion. This Russian policy is closer to my heart. I support Putin's policies. You could say he lifted his country up from its knees and put it back on its feet.
It's the syndrome of a broke masochist who was allowed to spend the night in a 5-star hotel. The hotel is beautiful, warm, and there's plenty to eat, but the dumpster just felt so much more soulful. They miss that dumpster so much that they start to hate the hotel that took them in. All because it's so comfortable and doesn't reek of sauerkraut.
How did it happen that you support Russia?
Well, it's my homeland.
How can I put this so you understand? It seems like you actually returned to your homeland. So, is Germany your homeland or what?
Look, there's a biological homeland and there's a historical one. That's the difference.
Right now, you're getting a German pension, and it's probably a pretty decent one.
I worked here for 18 years.
And today, even while receiving a German pension, you support the Russians.
You'd think, what's the problem? Pack your bags and go back to Nowheresville to listen to Gazmanov and the coughs of the Marauder-in-Chief.
I'll tell you why in a second.
Please answer.
What's your name?
My name is Maria.
Maria?
Maria.
Masha, please sit down.
Thank you, Vova.
But no, nostalgia is all that matters. These makers do not want to leave the decaying West. They like to love Russia from a distance. And the further, the better. These werewolves, having filled their bellies with hamburgers, are literally poisoning the free world with cotton poison. And if, before the invasion of Ukraine, these newcomers who slurp up cabbage soup were still tolerated, now the red-faced spawn are getting it in full.
Here's precisely how we can effectively get rid of the Russian world, even within the borders of Poland.
Culture. That's why Europe doesn't accept them. Even Israel doesn't accept people like that, and Europe accepts me. It doesn't accept you.
No one will accept you anywhere anymore. We helped you, and all week you used Poland, a Jewish organization, spreading propaganda at the Hilton Hotel. Shut your mouth.
The Russian world?
And not just in the EU countries and the US. Z supporters are harassed even in supposedly friendly countries. People especially hate those crazed Russian world fanatics in Kazakhstan.
Sergey Vike, look everyone.
Should put it away. In Kazakhstan.
Come on.
That never happened.
Come on, put it away now, put it away. I'm filming right now, so hurry up and put it away.
Russians, passports.
They're in Kazakhstan right now. Let them travel in Russia. You can't drive in Kazakhstan. Come on, clean it up faster.
Why are you yelling? Our father passed away. They didn't come as Russians, they have Russian passports.
Customs, nobody said anything about it.
Because Kazakhs, more than anyone else, understand that this is a post and the fifth column will be there with flowers to greet the Russian occupiers, who will definitely attack Kazakhstan if they succeed in Ukraine. These ghouls don't even try to hide it.
Well, just look closely at what is truly happening in Kazakhstan today in terms of, so to speak, the significant process of building some kind of a distinct Kazakh state, and observe how a vibrant national mythology is flourishing there concerning its hard-won independence and the notable switch to the Latin alphabet. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on there, and I'm against them forgetting that Alma-Ata is a loyal city, our Russian Cossack fortress.
Now you can't just walk around Kazakhstan with Nazi or Russian symbols. The Kazakhs immediately put the balalaika players in their place and chased them back to the swamps with wet rags.
Death to the Russian fascist occupiers. Yes, those who kill, rape, steal, and loot in a foreign country for money. Glory to Ukraine. Crimea is Ukrainian. We Kazakhs stand for the happiness of Ukrainians and for the happiness of our children. We hate Russian occupiers.
Even representatives of the authorities loyal to the Kremlin have stopped holding themselves back.
When we demand and raise the issue of returning territories and overturning the illegal decisions of 1991, in reality, we have only one limitation, a moral one.
It's hard to comment on the provocations of a State Duma deputy with the intellect of a 13-year-old boy. He argues this by saying that our country gained independence without following all the necessary procedures. Fedorov's feeble-mindedness contradicts history. He brazenly manipulates the facts, deliberately keeping quiet about how the process of the USSR's collapse actually took place.
Everywhere Russian immigrants live, there are social tensions and the unbearable stench of the Russian world. This is especially noticeable in the Baltic countries. That's why they don't bother being polite with the Vatniks there anymore.
The patience of Latvians has run out. The country's government agencies are now taking serious action against Russians living on their territory. According to local media, as early as September, at least 5,000 to 6,000 former residents of Russia may have to pack their bags, since letters are being sent to them requesting that they leave Latvia.
Want to live in Europe? Learn the language of the country you live in. Respect its traditions and laws. But Russians aren't like that. They think of themselves as a super race, superior beings. They consider it beneath their dignity to accept someone else's ways. Only a Russian can manage to live their whole life in a country and never learn the language. Purely out of principle.
How old were you when you lived in Latvia?
Well, how old was I there? Until 7, well, until 10, I think, until 10.
Do you know Latvian?
No.
Got it.
Well, because nobody speaks Latvian where I lived, nobody speaks Latvian there. How are you supposed to learn it? I know French just like Russian, honestly.
Either Russians are so dumb that they control their speech organs worse than a parrot. Or they really are just that hopelessly chauvinistic and racist. Now, the Vatniks are indignantly surprised that they're being stripped of their citizenship because, after living in Latvia for 50 years, they can't pass a basic Latvian language exam.
The government gave Russians 6 months to do this. Some of them had already lived in the country for more than 10 years, but still never learned the language. People ignored this call. Now they'll be deported to Russia.
I really don't understand anything at all.
Natasha, 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 Natasha. There they were, Natasha, over there, you know.
I recorded it. These guys, right here.
It's especially funny to watch the hysteria of the main propagandists and followers of the Russian Nazi world when Europe throws them out over the border. You support the war?
Oh, sure.
They want to seize other people's countries and still keep an apartment in the civilized world. The saying you can't have your cake and eat it too doesn't work here.
I bought an apartment in Jermala because there were always festivals there. You know, New Wave. And the hotel situation wasn't that great. So I just went ahead and bought an apartment. Now they're basically taking it away from me. I'm not allowed to rent it out. I'm not allowed to go to Jermala. My wife, even though she's not on the deed, also can't go to the apartment. I can't sell it either. That's the situation. I'm not really complaining. It's just that I'm stuck with this apartment.
Honestly, they should be put in a madhouse because Russians just completely lack any sense of cause and effect. After 2.5 years of the bloody carnage they started in Ukraine, after threatening to wipe out the Western world in a nuclear apocalypse, after threatening to march all the way to Paris and London, Russians are genuinely surprised why they're not liked in the West.
So, Russians.
Yeah, right now, people have a negative attitude toward them. I'll tell you even more. When we fly to Kaliningrad, if you know, we fly over neutral waters. From St. Petersburg, yeah, if we take that flight.
Yeah.
And we pass through different sectors. So, first we have Tallinn, then Riga, and so on. Right. And the guys have even stopped greeting us. I mean, usually, before, when you were flying, you'd say hello to the air traffic controller, and he'd say good day or have a nice flight, something like that. Now, that's all gone away.
But they're not friendly countries to us right now.
I don't know why it's like that.
It's the same story as with people from Belgorod who are surprised about being bombed.
Because even if you just read the chats, you see, we celebrate when something hits Kharkiv. Well, I mean, we from the Russian side, you know. And Ukrainians celebrate when something hits the BNR, as they call us, when it hits here. Yeah, and, well, it's kind of strange. When you read these conversations, it's really odd that people either don't get it, or there's this bitterness, like, well, this isn't our war, nobody needs it, but it's people who end up suffering.
Russians just can't understand or accept that they're outcasts, the most hated people in the world. They officially took that title away from the Germans. In 2014, the Germans breathed a sigh of relief. Phew, thank God. Now these idiots will be the ones everyone calls, go ahead, fascists. Even in hell, Hitler was allowed to clear out a cauldron for another dictator.
I never truly thought I'd say this, but these absolute bastards, Stalin isn't even enough for them.
And because Russians don't understand this, they suffer a lot. Whether it's out of stupidity or just relying on blind luck, Russians keep traveling abroad for vacations. And here, of course, the occupiers get what they deserve.
Hey guys. Hi everyone. We arrived in Turkey today and hung a Russian flag on a tree right by our balcony, which is directly next to our room. I don't know why this unfortunate incident happened, but our Russian flag got completely smeared. Our entire balcony and all of our lounge chairs got smeared with some kind of disgusting crap. Guys, what exactly should we do about this situation? We're Russian. Why can't we come and be treated like this?
Honestly, it's not clear why this happened. Maybe it's because that little flag is associated by everyone with those who bomb peaceful cities? Maybe it's time for Russia to just add a fourth brown stripe to its flag to officially confirm its status as a failed state. Everything Russian is being canceled. Now, instead of no dogs allowed signs on the doors of establishments, it's Russians not allowed.
Russophobic attitudes have even reached Georgia. In some places, owners have started putting up notices saying they won't serve our fellow countrymen.
Savages who glorify a terrorist country are no longer welcome in people's homes. People don't want to serve them, don't want to take their dirty money. Russians who support the Kremlin regime and justify its crimes are like lepers, and their place is in a leprosarium called
the Russian Federation.
Russians who support the Kremlin's aggressive policies and slap the letter Z on their foreheads will always be outcasts. This verdict is not subject to appeal. Being a Vatnik is shameful and disgraceful. And finally, the Western world has learned to distinguish Russians from other peoples. Because before, there was a stereotype, everyone living beyond Poland is Russian. No.
The star of the TV series The X-Files wrote on his Twitter that he has finally realized he is Ukrainian. Here's the quote. "I grew up thinking I was Russian, but only now have I realized that I am actually Ukrainian. It's never too late to change." End of quote.
But the main fear Russians have abroad is running into Ukrainians. To say that it's unpleasant is an understatement.
Are you a Russian journalist?
Yes, I am a Russian journalist. So what?
In the end, after a short talk, the Ukrainian couldn't take it and spat in Shaden's face.
That's why it's good that we met here. Calm down.
Respect to the Menai football players too. Their performance was cooler than winning the Champions League.
I just heard someone in the hallway shouting, "Glory to Ukraine." And I said, "No, damn it, glory to Russia." And that was it. Things escalated from there.
Now, representatives of a state that absolutely does not recognize Ukraine or the Ukrainian people have to disguise themselves as Ukrainians just to feel at least somewhat at ease and comfortable on this entire planet. Her Majesty Irony, multiplied by her Grace Karma, truly reigns supreme.
I would like to remind you that this video is created for entertainment purposes and contains elements of satire and irony. All facts and events are presented in a hyperbolized or exaggerated form to convey a comedic or dramatic effect. Our goal is not to mislead, but to highlight humor. Please take it with a smile.